There aren't a lot of things that Mike O'Donnell has attempted that didn't turn out well, no matter how improbable they seemed from the start. Let's begin with some basic biographical facts and photos. Mike is the oldest of 4 kids, including Maureen, Carrie, and Kevin, all born on the west side of Chicago. The family lived in an apartment with his maternal grandmother, Alice, who he cites as a tremendous influence on his life. Mike's mother, also Alice, was a dedicated grade school teacher and won Illinois Teacher of the Year. His father, Larry, was an architect. And Jim Lyons of Rothgerber, Johnson, and Lyons is his cousin, so they shared Alice as a grandmother. Mike loved sports, football, basketball, baseball, and then, after serious illness caused him to retire from team sports, he took up tennis in the 8th grade. At the age of 16, Mike made the overnight career jump from maintenance worker at a country club to the assistant tennis pro because the other assistant quit. Mike was the best tennis player among the other maintenance workers. This was the beginning of a trend of being the best among a dubious crowd. Mike then went on to win the Chicago Catholic League title in tennis. So sure, he beat all the other Catholic kids, but what about the Protestants, the Lutherans?
Anyone for tennis, wouldn't that be nice?
He then went on to Notre Dame, where he became a friend and roommate of Patrick Murphy, who, coincidentally, was the best tennis player in the history of Wyoming.
Well, the only 3 people that played tennis in Wyoming were myself and my 2 younger brothers.
Mike beat Pat, so I guess that makes Mike O'Donnell the best tennis player in the history of Wyoming. Mike became the captain of the Notre Dame tennis team.
Mike got his nickname of Otis in '74 when we were sophomores at Notre Dame because we all knew that he was a virus. And the only virus that described him was Spirogyroulothrix odogonium, which we shortened to Odogonium, which we shortened to Otis. And he's forever known as Otis.
After graduating from Notre Dame, Mike had the luxury of considering some very attractive options. He came out to Denver to look at DU Law School and stayed with his always helpful and supportive cousin, Jim Lyons. When Mike told Jim he was struggling between going to law school or going to Europe to play professional tennis, Jim strongly encouraged him to go to Europe, reminding him that he was a young, unmarried stud and needed to have some fun. Mike, however, shared Jim's sage advice with his mother, who immediately called Jim and read him the Riot Act. Mike promptly began at DU Law School. But the real reason Mike O'Donnell was drawn to law school like a magnet all started when he was a young boy. He was playing with fire with his best friend Charlie Walker, whose dad later became the governor of Illinois. They started a fire and, as fires tend to do, it spread, and pretty soon the whole field was burning. Charlie, having keen familial political instincts, sized up the situation and, of course, fled the scene and maintained plausible deniability. Mike, however, being a fine Catholic lad with visions of hellfire no doubt playing in his head, stayed and tried to put out the fire. 2 notable things happened. He did not put out the fire and instead got caught, and he also burned his eyebrows off. It was tragic. Then another tragedy compounded this. The doctors were grossly negligent and attached the prosthetic eyebrow to the top of his lip instead of over his eye. He then had to undergo a second surgery to attach a similar prosthetic eyebrow above his eye. The pain and humiliation he suffered burned like a grass field, and fueled his passion to stand up for victims of similar prosthetic eyebrow mustache fiascos. You'd be surprised by the number of people who have had to cope with this kind of tragedy. Mike has become their tireless advocate, telling their heart-rending tales to juries across the country. He's been chosen as the only attorney in the country certified to do work on behalf of the Oh My Gosh, What's That Fire Association, or OMG WTF. But the surprises don't stop there. Mike was also rocking the Angelina pose well before Angelina thought to show her leg at the Oscars. You decide who wore it best. Apparently, the photographer in these photos just couldn't take in all 6'6" of Mike O'Donnell in a kilt. But we're getting ahead of ourselves chronologically. Mike O'Donnell hit the jackpot one evening in Wyoming when Pat Murphy set him up on a blind date with Brett Long. As sometimes happens, especially when both people are total hotties, it was love at first sight, and they still mark the anniversary of that date, October 2nd, 1976. Mike and Brett got married 3 years later, after he graduated from law school and right after her final exams. In another fine example of Irish Catholic family planning, Brett became pregnant with their oldest, Connor, during her first year of law school, while also working full-time. Mike, in the meantime, went to work at White & Steel and credits Bill Steele with smoothing his rough edges and showing him the importance of always behaving with class and professionalism, even when your adversary doesn't. Mike then went on to Parcel Morrow, where he eventually chaired the litigation department until he, Jack Trigg, Malcolm Wheeler, and others decided to start a little litigation firm in 1998. Wheeler Trigg O'Donnell is now 70 lawyers strong, and in 2010, the Denver Business Journal named their firm as one of the best places to work. Mike is on so many lists of outstanding lawyers that we can't possibly list them all. Mike has long been involved in a number of community boards. He helped start the WTO Foundation, one of the first law firm charitable foundations in the state, which in the last 5 years has donated almost $1 million to various charities. In 2010, Mike helped start the Walking for Kids Foundation with his friends DJ Gregory and Jim Nance. They host a golf tournament every year in Orlando and use the money for charities that help kids with walking disabilities. In addition to Bill Steele, Mike credits his father, Larry O'Donnell, with showing him the importance of family, ethics, values, and love. Mal Wheeler showed Mike the importance of work ethic, passion, and excellence in the practice of law. And Mike cites Jack Trigg as a shining example of a man who is not only a great lawyer, but a great husband and father. As for Mike O'Donnell, he has embodied all of those qualities.
One of Mike's great accomplishments in his career is being a founder of Wheeler Trigg. Mal is the intellectual leader, Jack's the elder statesman, but Mike is the heart and soul of Wheeler Trigg and has worked tirelessly to make Wheeler Trigg the best litigation firm in the country. Whenever I'm in a conversation group, whenever I'm talking to people and someone realizes I know Mike or the name Mike O'Donnell comes up, everybody smiles. They just smile thinking about Mike O'Donnell. And I can't think of a more important quality a person can have if they go through life making the people around them smile. And Mike O'Donnell does that.
The love at first sight between Mike and Brett has stayed strong while raising 3 spectacular children. Connor, the oldest, is a successful artist whose art is displayed all over the world. But he's here tonight if you need anything. Devin, Mike's very favorite daughter, is an MBA engaged to Dr. Brad Stevenson. And Danny is a senior at the University of Michigan who hopes to attend law school after completing a Fulbright scholarship. Hopefully, he can get into DU. Mike O'Donnell is not only an outstanding alumnus, he is also an outstanding lawyer, father, husband, friend, son, grandson, athlete, and philanthropist. Congratulations to the recipient of the 2012 DU Law Stars Outstanding Alumni Award, Mike O'Donnell.